The Galactic Military Academy's training facility hummed with alien anticipation as the latest batch of recruits gathered outside Chamber 7, among the assembled crowd of Vraxian. Cathari and Zilneth stood to humans, Ben Carter and Ren Zhong, their relatively small frames dwarfed by the towering extraterrestrial warriors surrounding them. Instructor Krellner, a four-armed Varaxian with scales like polished obsidian, cycled through his datapad with obvious disdain. His secondary eyes focused on the human pair, while his primary eyes addressed the group. Chamber 7 operates at 5 times standard gravity, Krellner announced, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into comprehensible speech. Most species endure 15 minutes before physiological collapse. Your task is simple: survive 20 minutes. Those who fail will be reassigned to logistics divisions. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The Cathari, with their reinforced skeletal structures, looked confident. The Zilneth, gelatinous and adaptable, seemed unconcerned. But all eyes eventually drifted to the humans. Ben caught several recruits staring and offered a friendly wave. Ren merely stretched her shoulders, rolling her neck with audible pops that made a nearby Cathari flinch. Humans, Krellner said, mandibles clicking with something approaching amusement. Your species originates from a 1G world. This chamber will generate 5G. I recommend you withdraw now and save yourselves the humiliation and potential injury. Ben glanced at Ren, who raised an eyebrow. We're good, Ben called back. Your funeral, Krellner muttered, though the translator dutifully rendered it in flat, emotionless tones. The chamber doors hissed open, revealing a stark white room 30 meters across. As the recruits filed in, Ben and Ren exchanged knowing looks. They'd spent the last 2 weeks watching other species train, studying their strengths and limitations, and quietly preparing. The door sealed with a pneumatic hiss. For a moment, everything seemed normal. Then the gravity engaged. The effect was instantaneous and brutal. A Zilneth immediately pulled across the floor, its gelatinous form spreading like spilled water. Two Cathari crashed to their knees, their supposedly reinforced bones creaking audibly under the sudden pressure. Even the confident Vaxians staggered, their forearms bracing against the ground. Ben felt the weight slam into him like a physical blow. His knees buckled slightly, and he caught himself with one hand against the floor. Beside him, Ren dropped into a crouch, her breathing immediately shifting to short, controlled bursts. Timer begins, Krellner's voice echoed through the chamber's speakers. 20 minutes. The first 5 minutes were agony. Ben's muscles screamed as he forced himself to remain upright. Sweat already beaded on his forehead, each droplet feeling like it weighed 5 times what it should. Around them, recruits were sprawled across the floor in various states of distress. A Cathari had already triggered their emergency beacon, vanishing in a shimmer of transporter light. But something strange began to happen around the 8-minute mark. While other species remained pinned or struggling, Ben pushed himself fully upright. His legs trembled, but they held. He took a step, then another. Impossible. Someone breathed over the external monitors. Ren rose beside him, though she remained in a wider stance, conserving energy. Her eyes met Ben's, and a silent understanding passed between them. At 10 minutes, half the recruits had been evacuated. The remaining aliens lay prone, focused entirely on breathing and survival. Ben dropped to the floor and began doing push-ups. What Krellner's voice crackled with genuine confusion. Human designated Ben Carter, what are you doing? Push-ups, Sir. Ben grunted between repetitions. 1, 2, 3. His arms shook, and each repetition took monumental effort, but he continued. Why are you doing push-ups? Crelona demanded, all 4 of his arms gesturing at his monitoring equipment as if it had malfunctioned. Because Ben managed. His voice strained. We're here, too. Sir Ren had moved to the far side of the chamber. While Ben performed push-ups, she'd begun a series of slow, deliberate squats. Her face showed the strain, veins standing out on her neck, but her form remained perfect. This is not possible, Crelona insisted. Your species evolved on a 1G world. You should be incapacitated. Yeah, Ren called out between squats. But our 1G world is special, isn't it? In the observation deck, Crelona's mandibles worked silently. He pulled up Earth's data file, his eyes widening as he read details he'd previously dismissed as irrelevant. Earth, 1G gravity, yes, but also 70% covered in corrosive solvent. Atmospheric composition, including reactive oxygen. Temperature fluctuations from -42 plus 50 degrees Celsius. Tectonic activity. Frequent meteor impacts. Radiation exposure from a Class G star. Native predators evolve specifically to hunt bipedal mammals. They're from a death world, whispered Crelona's assistant. A young Varaxian named Vex, a real death rolled. Inside the chamber, Ben had completed 30 push-ups. His arms felt like they were made of lead, and his heart hammered against his ribs so hard he thought they might crack. But he pushed himself up once more. 30-1, Ren had moved on to lunges, each movement deliberate and controlled. You know what I miss most about Earth? She asked conversationally, her voice tight with effort. What? Ben gasped. Running. Just running for fun. Remember that? Yeah. Ben collapsed after his 35th push-up, allowing himself to lie flat for a moment. His entire body felt like it was being pressed into the floor by a giant hand. Used to run 5 kilometers every morning. In 1G, Ren added, completing another lunge. In 1G, Ben confirmed the implications hung in the air like smoke. These humans, these supposedly fragile beings from a low-gravity world, had trained their entire lives under conditions that most species only encountered in specialized military conditioning. Every step they'd ever taken, every object they'd ever lifted, every movement they'd ever made had been resistance training. At 15 minutes, only 5 recruits remained conscious. 3 Varaxians, including one who'd achieved a squatting position against the wall, and 2 humans who were now stretching. Instructor Crelona, Vex said quietly, I'm reviewing the other human data we have. When they say exercise, they don't mean survival training. They mean voluntary physical stress for recreation. Recreation. There are records of humans running marathons 42 kilometers for fun, lifting heavy objects repeatedly in what they call gyms, climbing mountains, swimming in their oceans, jumping from aircraft for entertainment. Crelona stared at the monitor where Ben had rolled onto his back and was now performing crunches, his abdominal muscles contracting against 5 times their normal weight. They're insane, Crelona muttered. No. Sir, Dex replied, a note of awe entering his voice. They're humans. The 20-minute alarm sounded. The gravity released instantly, and the remaining recruits gasped as normal weight returned. The Varaxians slumped in relief. One actually wept. Ben and Ren stood up, bouncing slightly on their feet, adjusting to the sudden lightness. That was intense, Ben said, rolling his shoulders. Yeah, Ren agreed. Good warm-up, though. The chamber doors opened to reveal Instructor Kralona standing in the entrance, all four arms crossed. His expression was unreadable, but his mandibles twitched in what might have been respect. "Humans," he said slowly, "report to advanced combat training tomorrow. 600 hours. The 1OG chamber." Ben asked hopefully. Kralona's mandibles clicked rapidly, the Varaxian equivalent of laughter. "Let's see how you handle 7 first." As they walked out, passing by recruits twice their size who were still recovering on medical gurneys, Ren leaned over to Ben. "Think they have a good gym here?" "Probably not by our standards," Ben replied with a grin. "But we'll make do." Behind them, Instructor Kralona updated his report, where it asked for notes on the human recruits. He typed a single line: "Recommend all future galactic military training standards be recalibrated. Humanity is not the baseline. Humanity is the ceiling." In the mess hall that evening, word had spread. The humans who did push-ups in the crushing gravity chamber became legend, and across the galaxy, military academies began to understand a fundamental truth. Humans weren't weak because they came from a light gravity world. They were terrifying because they'd spent their entire evolution learning to thrive in hell and calling it home.